I built this place from nothing but sweat, hope, and an old grill that barely worked the first year. 30 years later, I walked through the front door of my own restaurant, and no one even looked up. The door chimed softly. I stood there for a moment, just another old man in a faded coat, shoes scuffed from 1,000 miles. I waited. Nobody greeted me. Nobody asked my name. So I walked to a corner table by the window and sat down. My hand brushed the edge of the table sticky. Crumbs still there from the last customer. The smell of stale coffee hung in the air. 2 servers laughed by the soda machine, one glancing my way with a look that said, "What's he doing here?" I lifted my hand gently. A manager in an expensive shirt strolled over, eyebrows pinched. "You? Sure you can afford a T-bone steak, sir? It's not cheap." His tone wasn't curious, it was a dismissal wrapped in politeness. I nodded, "Medium rare, please." He smirked, turned, and walked away without another word. From my seat, I watched the life of the place I built unravel in small humiliations. A young couple walked in 5 minutes later, and 3 staff members rushed over. Smiles, fresh menus. A sample of wine, for me silence. No water, no menu, no kindness. I wasn't angry yet. Not even surprised. Mostly I felt something deeper, a quiet disappointment that settled into my bones heavier than any exhaustion. I looked at the walls that used to feel alive with framed photos of opening day and staff celebrations. Now they were blank, beige, uninspired. Like someone had drained all the warmth out. Minutes passed. No service. No apology. Finally, an older waitress approached. She didn't wear perfume. No bright lipstick. Just tired eyes and a voice that carried sincerity. "Good afternoon, sir," she said softly. "Thank you for your patience. May I get you some water?" In that moment, she became the only person who saw me, not as an inconvenience, but as a guest. She returned with a glass. A paper napkin tucked under it, carefully placed. "I'll be right back to take your order," she whispered. And then she walked away, her steps slow and deliberate, like every movement cost her something. From across the room, I heard them, too. Servers muttering by the register, "She's so slow. Always behind. She should have retired years ago." Their laughter was soft but sharp, like knives hidden in a smile. I turned my gaze toward the kitchen doors, half expecting to hear the sizzle of the grill, the heartbeat of the place. But there was nothing. Just a cold, quiet. 30-8 minutes. Later, a plate thudded onto my table. Overcooked, two-bone, dry, edges burned. Not even warm. I cut a slice. The knife didn't glide. It sawed. The bite was rubbery, tasteless. A parody of the dish that once made my reputation. I raised my hand again. A young server walked over, already looking past me. "Did the chef read the order?" He shrugged. "Probably a system glitch or something." A lie told easily. I didn't argue. When she came back, the older waitress, she looked me in the eye, her voice barely above a whisper. "Sir, I'm so sorry for everything. It used to be better here. I'm sorry it isn't anymore." No script. No rehearsed apology. Just truth. I nodded once. Didn't touch the food again. And I waited. When the lunch rush slowed, I saw her approach the manager. Her voice was quiet, her hands folded in front of her. "I have a doctor's appointment tomorrow." I was hoping maybe I could swap my shift. The manager didn't look up from his tablet. "If you can't work, don't come at all." She stood there, just for a moment, shoulders bent by a weight no one else seemed to see. Then she walked away without protest. And that was the moment. I knew this wasn't just about cold steak or lazy service. This was about rot. Slow, hidden rot that starts in the heart and spreads until no one remembers why it mattered. I paid my bill, though no one asked if everything had been okay. As I turned to leave, she slipped a folded note under my receipt. She didn't say a word. Outside, I stood in the afternoon light, the paper soft between my fingers. I opened it. I've tried to speak up. No one listens. If you can change things, please come back as who you really are. My throat tightened, and I knew I hadn't just come to eat. I'd come to remember what we'd built and decide if it was worth saving. The next morning dawned clear, the kind of morning that seems determined to wash away what came before. He had hardly slept. The note she'd given him lay on the bedside table all night, as if it weighed more than any ledger or contract. By first light, he was already dressed. Not in disguise, no windbreaker, no scuffed shoes, no glasses to blur the world. Today, he was stepping into the truth, not away from it. As he stood before the mirror adjusting his tie, he caught sight of his own reflection. He looked older. Sure lines deep at the corners of his mouth and eyes that had seen too many disappointments. But there was something else, too, a steadiness. A promise that today would not be like yesterday. He drove in silence. No radio, no phone calls. Just the hum of tires on pavement and the memory of her voice. If you can change things, please come back as who you really are. When he pulled up in front of the restaurant, the first staff member arriving was the same young man who had shrugged. When asked about the steak, he paused, keys in hand, blinking at the sight of the CEO stepping out in a tailored suit. He didn't say anything. Didn't need to. The truth was walking through the door behind him. The morning prep had just begun. The kitchen lights flickered on. A few servers in rumpled shirts sipped their first coffees. Laughter floated from the back hall. None of them had expected him to actually return, let alone reveal himself. But he was here. He walked slowly, each step deliberate. He passed the register, where the same two servers had mocked the guests, and the soda station, where others had whispered. Every corner of the place felt different now. More awake. Or perhaps it was only he who was more awake to it. At the back, the manager emerged, face flushed, a clipboard clutched like a shield. "Good morning, sir," he stammered, voice brittle. "Good morning," he replied evenly. "We're going to speak shortly, all of us." He didn't wait for permission. He moved to the center of the dining floor and set down his leather folder. One by one, the staff drifted in, confusion on their faces, curiosity in their eyes. He took a breath, then began. "I spent 30 years building this name. 30 years believing that no matter how big we grew, we could keep the heart of the first kitchen alive. That no matter how many locations, every guest would feel seen, valued." Silence. Some shifted. Uncomfortably, but no one interrupted. "Yesterday, I came in here as a stranger. And in every forgotten corner of this restaurant, I saw who you all really are when no one is watching." A few heads dropped. "And let me be clear," he continued, voice low, "what I saw was not just bad service. It was something worse. A culture that forgot the simplest truth: people matter." He turned his gaze to the manager, whose face had gone pale. "I will speak to you separately. But for now, I want you all to hear this together." He gestured toward the empty tables, the crumbs, the coffee rings still visible from the day before. "Do you see this? This is what it looks like when you stop caring. When you choose convenience over respect. When you mock the ones who show up every day and still try." No one dared respond. He looked past them, searching until he found her standing near the kitchen doorway, apron freshly tied, eyes wide, but unafraid. "And do you see her?" The older waitress froze, her hands clutching a stack of menus. "She was the only one who treated me like a guest. Not because I deserved special treatment. Because that's who she is. Because she remembers why we're here." A hush fell, heavy as a held breath. He turned back to the team. "You've all gotten comfortable. Comfortable enough to laugh at guests. Comfortable enough to leave plates dirty. Comfortable enough to treat the slowest among you as expendable." He let the words land. "I will not allow this to continue." He picked up his folder and flipped it open. Pages fluttered complaint. Reports, customer surveys, metrics no one could argue. Over the past 3 months, this location has lost 27% of its regular guests. Service time has increased by 40%. Complaints have doubled. The numbers are bad, but the numbers aren't the problem. He closed the folder gently, as if the act itself mattered. The problem is that no one seems to care. He let that settle. Then he spoke the sentence that would change everything. Effective immediately, this management team is relieved of duty. A murmur swept the room. The manager sputtered, voice ragged. "Sir, please, No," he said. Quietly. "You had your chance. You wasted it." He turned to the staff. "I will not fire the rest of you today. But know this, if you stay, you are agreeing to build this place back. To start from the bottom and to earn the trust of every person who walks through that door. If you can't do that, leave now." No one moved. Slowly, he turned to her, the woman who'd apologized for everyone else's failures. "You never asked for recognition," he said, voice low. "But you are the reason this place has any chance at redemption." She swallowed, unable to speak. He reached into his pocket, pulled out a small polished name badge, and extended it toward her. "From this moment forward, you are head floor supervisor. This restaurant will look to you for the standard it forgot." Her hand trembled as she took it. He nodded. "You earned this, not because of a title, but because you never stopped caring." Behind her, the staff watched, some ashamed, some humbled, all aware that nothing would ever be the same again. He took a breath, softer now. This is not about punishment. It's about returning to the roots of why we opened these doors. To feed people, to welcome them, to make them feel at home. He gestured to the room. "From today, that begins again. I will personally be here every week. No warnings, no announcements. You will either rise to this challenge or you will step aside." He stepped back, surveying the floor one last time. No one spoke, no one moved. But something in the air shifted, a collective realization that the time for excuses had ended. He turned to her again. "Would you greet our first guests today?" She nodded, voice thin but steady. "Yes, sir." The door chimed. A young family stepped inside, hesitant, glancing around. She approached with calm dignity, eyes warm, smile real. "Welcome," she said softly. "We're so glad you're here." He watched as she guided them to a clean table, poured fresh water, and offered menus with the reverence of someone who believed the act still mattered. And in that small exchange, he saw it, the spark of something reborn. He turned to the rest of the team. "This is how it starts," he said. "One table at a time, one guest at a time, one act of care at a time." And as the day unfolded, order slips passed with purpose, tables cleaned without being asked, customers greeted with sincerity. He felt something he hadn't in years. Hope. Because sometimes it takes losing everything to remember why you built it in the first place. And sometimes the quietest voices carry the greatest power to heal what's been broken. He stood by the window, watching her work, watching the team learning to care again. For the first time, the restaurant felt alive. And in that soft morning light, he finally understood. A place can lose its soul, but it can find it again if just one person refuses to let it die.